Well, hello everyone, welcome. So today I'm super excited to introduce to you the amazing 12-week mentorship that we're going to be starting for artists, for musicians, for creative people, for spiritually inclined ones like yoga teachers, healers, shamans, sound therapists, anyone who falls under any of these categories of the so-called creative entrepreneur, the entrepreneur or the self-driven individual who already inside of him or her has the the gem. They already have it in them. They already have the source of what you would call a service towards the world. They already have the source of it in them, and they are going about doing this in the beautiful space and expressing themselves. But how do these people end up making money? That is what we're going to be speaking about. Like, how do these guys come up and thrive financially while still staying aligned with what they are here to do? This beautiful thing inside them that they're giving birth to each day and providing these amazing concerts, providing these, filling up these art galleries, giving you those amazing soul wrenching massages, giving you the perfect sound healing session, the perfect therapy. So, how are all these amazing human beings going to thrive financially in 2023 and the world ahead? So, that's kind of what it's all about. That's what this mentorship's all about because we've got something beautiful linked up to it. So, before we get into it, a little bit of a primer like, who is this mentorship even for? Like, what category of people come in? So when I speak about a creative entrepreneur, I'm speaking about anybody who is not exactly searching externally for so-called employment so that somebody could tell them what they have to do in order to earn money. This is not the person that I'm speaking to. I am speaking about the person, he or she, who already has the burning desire in them to bring forth that which they hold so truly, so dearly inside them. Whether it's the feeling of going ahead and having that perfect concert where you connect with your audience on such a deep level that you lose definition between yourself and the audience. You just lose the barrier. You just you just don't know where one ends and where the other starts. Or if you're filling up a beautiful art gallery and when people are there, they're just mesmerized by the art and they're just so lost in it that in a moment they've actually felt you, not just the art. They felt you, the person who wasn't even there at the gallery while they were viewing it. Now, when you are creating experiences like this can go on. This can go on even in massages. Yeah, there are some times when you're probably getting a massage that you just literally lose yourself. You just you just don't know where the bodies end and meet. You just don't know whether they even separate while the massage is taking place. Same with sound therapy, same with healing, same with sometimes even astrology. I do astrology as well. Sometimes I just lose track of the person I'm doing the astrology for because I'm so into the chart that I'm with at the time that it's just an interwoven form of energy. So if you are kind of following the common pattern in all of this, you would notice that all these individuals who I call as the creative entrepreneurs do not specifically focus on what you would call as the financial outcome of it. Because generally within this category of service, you can say, there's ideally a fixed rate that you're working for or a certain hourly thing that you're working for. So the financial aspect of it does not increase or decrease by the nature of your performance or service at the time. So what happens is that your mind is kind of not in that zone, so to speak. It's not in the zone of monetizing. If you are doing it with such purity and that, it's something that you really love and are truly, one with, which I'm sure a lot of people listening would be resonating with, there is a very clear distinction in the brain between providing the best service, providing the best performance possible, connecting to your audience in the most authentic way possible, that your mind kind of enters into. That's the kind of zone it goes into. That's what it's tapped into at that time. It's tapped at connection. It's not tapped into monetization at the specific time. Maybe after the concert, maybe after the massage, maybe after the routine's over, maybe after your session's over. Yes, of course, you come back and you're thinking about, what the figures are. But in the moment, if you are being absolutely true with yourself, the mind is kind of going in a certain direction of connection. It's going towards that singularity. It's going towards feeling that oneness. And guess what? This path is an amazing path, but it is not directly, it's not directly linked with money. It's indirectly linked with money. Is that, as I said, at the end of it, you come back into your so-called 3D world and you do the 3D things. That is, count the numbers and see how much you're getting paid, and you add those things up, etc. But you're seeing where I'm coming to is that when you are, for example, an investor or a business person, the very act of going ahead and doing a trade, for example, if you're trading in the stock market, the very act of trading at this point of time while you're buying and you're selling, the very act of doing it is intertwined with money. The very act of doing it brings your mind into a certain specificity of how much I can make at this time. How can I cash in on it? How can I make the most of this exact trade I'm doing right now? How can I time it perfectly? So here what happens is, since the focus, the energy, the consciousness itself is funneling towards money, money is able to flourish more easily. Or you can say that the very act of doing it is for the money. The very act of investing is so that your money builds more money. The very act of running a business sometimes is, not sometimes, I think most times, the very act of the very DNA of a business is to make profit. Even if you're in a non-profitable organization, the very act of it is to make profit, which you then give away as charity. But the very act of doing the activity itself is pointed at money and growing money. While when we are talking about this so-called creative entrepreneur side of it, the very act of doing it is going towards connection. It's going towards human connection. It's going towards connecting with your audience in such a way, in such a profound way, that there is no barrier between you and them. Because that is where you, as a creative entrepreneur, get expressed. And for you, the monetization, or in your mind, what is most valuable at the time is the self-expression. And now I guess you're following the distinction that there's a huge difference between someone who's in a field where money itself is the outcome and the outcome itself is the goal, and you are kind of working towards that outcome. That's a very clear-cut way of going towards money. While out here, in our fields, our outcome is self-expression. Our outcome is oneness. Our outcome is unity. Our outcome is breaking the barriers. So if this is the outcome and this is what the consciousness is aimed at, this is what you shall receive. And this is what you shall receive more and more of. This is what you shall become better and better at. While a so-called day trader gets better and better at negating trades with losses and gets better and better at getting more and more profitable trades in a day, and is able to, amp up his or her profit share for the day. In our field, in our way of expressing, we get better and better at connecting with people. we get better and better at connecting with those who have not even seen us. We get better and better at connecting with unknown people, with strangers, with ones who have not even heard, or yeah, you've just not spoken to them. Think about the people who are listening to your tracks. Think about the people who are viewing your artworks. You've probably never even met them, but when they listen to your work, they connect to you in a way that even those close to you probably don't connect to you. That is the power of what we do. But then the outcome is that as well. The outcome is connection. His outcome is going towards a certain sense of unity. So now, what generally happens is that since the brain or the mind or even the consciousness is aimed at this as the focus, money seems very tangential, because money is a very out here is an outcome of having done the full act, that is having connected, having made the the having made the depth of connection. After that is when the so-called money comes in as a payment for the service that just occurred, as a payment for the track that someone just purchased, or the stream that was counted because someone just heard, or the painting that just sold because someone was just taken aback by how beautiful it was, or the massage service that someone just paid you for. So it is very tangential in nature, is that it's not directly related. So this is where the feeling of ugliness comes in as well. Like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creative person, I'm sure you felt this, that when you are so-called working for money, when you're working on a commercial project, a commercial art project, a commercial music project, you do not feel very aligned. You feel a little bit ugly. You feel a little bit like I'm selling out. Why does this happen? Why does a trader never feel it? Like a trader never feels he's selling out, because the intention from the start is to make the most amount of money possible with the least amount of losses. So the intention is very clear. So there is no negative feedback coming in, because the consciousness is directed at money and it's directed at maximizing it. So there's no negative feedback coming in, even though the job might be stressful and all the lot. I don't want to get into that, but it's not giving you negative feedback the way that a creative person feels when they end up doing something commercial, and they end up selling short, is how they feel on their art. They really get this feeling of ugliness is because of the tangential nature of money with art and self-expression and the outcome of oneness itself. So if you are this creative entrepreneur and you are feeling this constant struggle between money and being pure to your artworks, being pure to your vocation, the most important thing to look at is, how do we understand this? How do we dissect this problem? How do we understand it in a way that we can actually make this work for ourselves? Because if you are to actually study the core of business is completely built on what you would call as sales. Like a business only thrives when it makes a sale. Only those businesses that sell stay in business. No matter how good your product is, if you're unable to sell, a business goes off. It's not in business anymore. So when you speak about sales, and when you speak about sales resulting in money, so again, if you are in the business sector, it becomes very clear, because the outcome is the sale and the outcome is the money that the sale brings. So again, your consciousness is a little bit more focused, while here it's like completely tangential. So now, how do we as artists, as creative people, thrive financially? Like, how do we do it without like selling out, without having to do something just for the money, without you having to, take up a job just for the money, without you having to do something else just for the money? Because that means you're doing something because you didn't understand it. That means you're doing your art, you're doing your massage, you're doing your music, you're doing your therapy, but then you just see everyone else who has a so-called job being able to make ends meet, being able to make money, and you're just like, okay, let me just get at least a part-time one, so that I could also get a little bit of that. Now this is going to really split your insights. It's going to split your consciousness in the most unhealthy way possible, Because you are driving it towards unity, you are driving it towards public connection, you're driving it towards a certain sense of oneness with your with the gift that you have inside. And then you end up taking up a job just to make ends meet. I have nothing against that, but I'm just saying, like, there's ways to break it down and get creative about that as well. What is our USP within this field? Ingenuity, creativity, thinking outside the box, coming up with original solutions to problems. So why not solve this age-old problem of the struggling artist? Why not make him a thriving artist? That's what it's all about today. So when you want to dissect this problem itself, if you look at the other two sectors, that is the investment and the business sector, the investment sector is looking at money, making more money. The business sector is looking at sales, resulting in money, resulting in repeated clients, customers, etc. Now, what is a sale? It's at the end of the day a connection between two people, that you were able to express yourself so clearly, your product, your service, in such an accurate manner that the other person just couldn't help but buy it, just couldn't help but trade their money for your product or your service. That means the other person broke their barrier of being different from you and said, let me come in, let's join hands and do this. That's as simple as that. That's exactly what happens in a sale. Now, let's bring it into our sector, our quadrant. As a creative entrepreneur, you are literally doing this every single day, every time you perform, every time somebody books you for your service, every time somebody buys something from you, every time somebody buys a painting, every time somebody has a massage with you, they are saying, let me break the barrier and let me become one with you. And they're allowing you to become one with them. We are already doing it. Every time somebody listens to my music, they're already saying, let me break the barrier so that you can come and penetrate me with that which you have to offer, the beautiful music. It's already happening. It's just that we, as artists, are not able to look at that as a way of monetizing, as a way of bringing in abundance into our lives and thriving. So what is the way to do this? Since public connection is, in a way, the number one you can say, byproduct of being a creative entrepreneur itself, what if you mentally could tell yourself that I am going to just focus on this aspect, that is me explaining what I do, explaining my art, explaining my music, explaining my amazing services that I'm going to provide you. The very act of explaining it and connecting with another human being. Because that's what you do with your art, that's what you do with your massage, that's what you do with your music, anyways. If we, as creative entrepreneurs, can bring out the quality, keep it aside, be able to speak about what we do as our brand itself, be able to explain in the most beautiful way the music that I make, the art that I make, what I have to offer to the world. If I can do that and connect with other human beings, I am already having a business, because that is the nature of a sale. That is the DNA of a sale. And let me get further with this and say the output of that, the output of this conversation that you have with this amazing human being, the output of that conversation is not exactly your art, is not exactly your massage, is not exactly your music, but the output of that conversation is a business, is a product which is able to take care of itself. because of it being automatable, because of it being completely online, because of it being completely regulated, because of it being network marketing style oriented, because of it following a structure where the whole idea is about building a network of other similar human beings, of other similar, in our case, creative entrepreneurs who are able to bring in more people who have the same vision. What if that was the product instead of your art or your service? Now, what happens? Now, let me give you the first example. If this was not the case, what would happen? If you're having all these amazing conversations with people, and the product of that conversation was your art or your massage or your music itself, you would have more clients, which is great. Nothing wrong in it. But there's a limit to how much you can have in a day. Like I am right now coming on the back of doing 4 music projects today, and I am literally exhausted. I love doing what I do. I would never do anything else. But there is a limit to how much I could do in a day and still be able to keep up the level of the standards which I want to keep up. I'm doing 4. I could maybe do 5 in a day. But I can't imagine myself doing 18, right? There's a limit to it. Yes, I could have more people. I have hired a few. I could have more, but there's a level to how that contentment is going to grow. There's a level to it. There's a level to it because the outcome of art is the connection. And when that shifts even a little bit, it tends to bring in these feelings of selling out. So here I am speaking to you about a method, which is a no compromise method, which is a method in which you do not get this feeling at all, in which you are able to take up the number of projects that you take up, which is humanly possible for you and enjoyable for you at the end of the day as well. While the so-called connections that you are anyways going to be good at because you are an artist, you are here to create, to connect with people, to speak to people on a very deep level. If the outcome of that so-called conversation with a human being is not the art, but is a product outside of the art, which is affiliated with your art, which is affiliated with your service, which is affiliated with your music. Now what happens? Now, the number of conversations you have and the number of so-called, I wouldn't say clients, but the number of co-human beings that you would be working with in a day can go to the so-called number of 18, which I picked up randomly. And it wouldn't have to stop at 4. Why? Because I am not the person generating the business. It is not my service that is my music that they are here for. They are here to be part of a network which is associated with a product which is working in the realm of network marketing. So the product already gets manufactured by somebody else. Sales already happen with a dedicated sales team. Everything from shipping to reaching the perfect audience, everything happens automatically because everything is set up. So when the system is set up, you are coming in on a very back line of an existing business system which works anyways. You are coming in as the person, as the creative entrepreneur who has the ability to connect with people on a very deep level. And you're coming in and allowing yourself the liberty of thriving, allowing yourself the liberty of thriving by connecting your skills, the very connection skills which you have, and plugging that in to a system which works seamlessly anyways. So guess what happens now? Now when you expand upon that, now when you have more and more conversations with people each day, now when your so-called human to human connection grows, now when the more and more people who want to join you to become a part of your team, become a part of what you're doing, the more and more it grows, it does not take a toll on your sanity. It does not take a toll on your authenticity. It does not take a toll on your, it does not make you feel as if you're selling out. That is the best way that I can put it. The reason is that the product or the final service that you're providing is not your art. So what happens is you have literally, because of your ability to be able to connect with people deeply, have just removed that aspect, made a skill out of it, made a skill set out of it, which can now be monetized online by being able to connect with as many people that you can possibly reach. And since the product of that conversation is not your art itself, the feeling is not the same. The feeling of selling out is not the same. The feeling of burnout is not the same. The feeling of not being centered is not the same. Because here what happens, you are looking at growing the network and you're looking at the network becoming monetizable for you. You are looking at this network that you're developing itself as the product. You are looking at this network of people that you're growing with itself as the asset that you're developing, which in the long run is going to become a massive source of passive income for you, in a way that it is able to fund every art project, every music project, every self-driven, maybe you want to start a retreat or something, every self-driven entrepreneurial venture that you would like to take up. This is going to be able to fund that. This is going to be able to fund your lifestyle as you're out there doing the most authentic work that you possibly could do, but staying within the limitations of what is physically and emotionally possible for you to do within a day. So here, since the network is the product and not your art itself, any feeling which generally arises for a creative person of not being honest, of not being aligned, of selling out and all of these things just do not happen here. This is where you can purely focus your consciousness while doing this into generating abundance, into generating money in a way that it grows as an asset, but not as money itself. Now you can literally focus on your ability to connect with another human being itself as being the asset. You are replicating that and connecting that inside a network, which over time becomes the asset itself. And as that network grows, every level of passive income that is even remotely imaginable becomes possible. And now, this is how you, as a creative person, as a creative entrepreneur, can develop a proper B quadrant business, which can become a cash cow for you in the long run, which is going to allow you to pursue all of your dreams without having to put that pressure on your art itself. Imagine going into a venue and having to play just because you need to pay the bills. It's not a very nice feeling. It's not an inspiring feeling. Of course, you love to play, but it's not the best feeling to have, is it? It's because the very outcome of that act of playing in front of people was not so that it becomes a cash cow for you. or so that you connect with them in an authentic way. So if you've got this thing going for yourself on the side, you've got this network building, which you're doing slowly over a period of years, as that grows more and more, you're going to be only able to take the gigs that you want. You're going to be only able to do the work that you want to do. You're only going to be able to do the shows that you want to do. And it's going to work out perfectly fine for you. And this, if you look at it in a nutshell, is pretty much the issue with the starving artist, you can say, or the struggling artist, is because the struggling artist does not know how, or has probably not given thought to it, about how they could use the most fundamental core value of art itself, that is connection, on a level which is not possible otherwise, and transfer that onto something where the inauthenticity of connection is not felt, because the motive itself was to create abundance. So when you create monetary abundance out there, you do not feel it that way, because that was the motive. You're just being aligned with it. So that is just a little bit of a sneak peek into what we're going to be doing in our 12-week mentorship. A 12-week mentorship is for all artists, for all creative people, for all musicians, for all spiritually inclined ones, yoga teachers, sound healers, shamans, therapists, tarot readers, astrologers, everybody who fits under these categories, anybody who resonates with what I had to say today. It's for all of you guys. If you are struggling with this inner conflict of money versus your purity, if you are struggling with having to do something so-called like a traditional job just so that you pay your bills, or just so that you have a little bit extra going on, you really need to think outside the box, because you're a creative person. That's what so-called common men do, or common people do, because that's the way they're structured. That's the system they're in. We're not in that system. Why do we have to follow that? We're the ones here to break rules, right? We're the ones here with the creative side of the brain active. Why do we need to do that? Why do we need to do that? Why are we doing that, actually, is the question. The reason I find, I have never personally had a job ever, because I never believed in it. I never did it. I have always been an entrepreneur. And yeah, but besides that, I feel personally is that the reason we end up doing it is that we never gave thought to it, more than the fact that you were helpless, or like it was an emergency. I see it as like you've never given thought to the aspect of like money is something different from the art you do. And that's just the very nature of it, because it's tangential. The equation works that way. So if you are going to go back and reflect on what we just discussed, you're bound to find out the tangential nature of money and what you do on a very fundamental level. It is so tangential at a fundamental level that they just don't align. They somehow always just skip a way. That itself tells you that you need to think of a creative way of setting up money, of setting up abundance for yourself, which will work for you in the long run, so that you can continue to do what you do best. And how any of your skill sets, I have just outlined one. There's tons of skill sets in creative people, which common men and women do not have. How are you going to take any of these skill sets and be able to create something which is monetizable and expandable beyond just your service, beyond just them becoming your client for your art or your service that you provide? That is what we're going to be discussing. That is what we're going to be teaching. And along with that is the online business that we ourselves associate with, we ourselves are aligned with, we ourselves are a part of. The so-called network building, which I'm speaking about, that is what I'm part of. I have been a part of for quite a few months now, and it's really been a game changer for me. So that is what we're going to be discussing in these 12 weeks of mentorship. So if you're watching and all of this resonated with you, which I'm sure it did, hit me a DM, send me a personal message on Facebook, or you can just drop fire in the comments below, and we can take it from there. There's not a lot of time left for the mentorship to end, so you will have to act a little bit quickly. So if you're going to be pondering over this, I would suggest at least get it started with, so you get an idea and a foot in the door before it's not available very after a while. So that's all I have to say for today. And yeah, I hope all this made sense. And I'm going to be going much more deeper in the upcoming videos, and mainly in the mentorship. All of this is going to be covered. How do you as an artist thrive abundance? How do you as an artist create that for yourself without any feelings of conflict or ever having to go to a job again? How do you do that? All of this is there in the mentorship. It's completely a plug and play business which works with the mentorship. So everything's right there. So I will be seeing you there. And as I said, just DM me or hit something down, hit fire down in the comments, and I'll get back to you and we take it from there. That's about it. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon. Bye.